everyone, to Reimagining the Magic. I'm Katie.
I'm Julie.
And today's episode is brought to you by Breach, that's BREACH.TV. Your next home for all things entertainment, music, movies, and more. Check it out today at www.breach.tv. Today's episode is about EPCOT and the Universe of Energy ride and what's being changed to it, including things coming in from Marvel.
Sorry, it's just funny every time I hear it.
Marvel and EPCOT. Who thought that was a good idea?
I really don't know, but every time I hear it, I laugh because it's like, EPCOT, Marvel. They don't match the themes. They're not there.
And that was the thing. It was I believe it's in the notes, marked by the president of EPCOT. Well, I think she's technically a vice president, but she's pretty much the person who's in charge of all the EPCOT projects. In several interviews, and when they did the EPCOT anniversary, she was talking about how their new plans for EPCOT specifically mention integrating film franchises in with attractions. And
right, which has been done.
That's the opposite of EPCOT, though. You have 3 other parks to do that with.
Yeah, I feel like this ride. So what we're referring to is they're replacing the Energy Pavilion with a Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster. They did announce that it's a roller coaster, and personally,
they didn't announce it being a roller coaster exactly. They announced the Guardians of the Galaxy part, but then the same woman, the president essentially of EPCOT, in an interview dropped in we have great plans, including a roller coaster in the Universe of Energy Pavilion. She dropped the roller coaster part. Thinking people already knew, but that was not announced at D23. They just said Guardians of the Galaxy is replacing Energy. But then, in an interview that coincided with the EPCOT anniversary, she mentioned it being a roller coaster. So basically, you have to take information from several different sources, but it's all coming from Disney regardless. But the official announcement of it being a coaster hasn't dropped yet. I don't think it is going to drop now, because I think people just know. Mm-hmm. If you listen to Disney news, you just know now that it's going to be some kind of coaster, unless last minute they change their minds.
Right.
The real speculation now is really, what kind of coaster is it going to be?
Right. Which, they still could do some really awesome stuff, but I'm hoping it's not a traditional steel coaster, but I know that there's a probably 99.9% chance that it is.
I wanted to, because technically, if you look at how the schematics for different rides and their footprints, Spaceship Earth is a coaster.
That is true. So, a slow coaster.
It is. I believe it's on the records as the world's slowest roller coaster. It's so slow.
I don't know. Part of me wants to hand that to the mine train at Six Flags Over Texas.
Oh no!
Not the mine train. Sorry, the mini mine train. I love the mine train.
So yeah, we're a couple of Texans, and that's our theme park claim to fame is Six Flags.
Yeah, Six Flags Over Texas. Whoop! So I've been to Six Flags about 30 times in my lifetime, maybe more than that. I've been to Disney twice.
I've been to Disney more than I've been to Six Flags.
See, that's awesome. The first time I went, it was on a band trip, and the second time was actually just this past March for my husband and my honeymoon, which was really awesome. So I have been recently.
Last time I went, this is a story for another podcast, but last time I was there, I got pneumonia.
Ooh, that is not fun.
I missed most of my vacation.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine that.
2 days in, I'm too sick of doing things. This is for another podcast. On the topic of EPCOT, though, because EPCOT was one of the days I missed. So I haven't seen the inside of EPCOT in person since 2014.
Oh, wow. And EPCOT is probably my favorite park. I adore EPCOT. And I'm going to say this a million times throughout this podcast. Feel free to correct me as many times as you feel necessary. Hollywood Studios, I will call it MGM so many times just because that's what I grew up calling it. But Hollywood Studios is probably my favorite as far as rides, but EPCOT is my favorite as far as experience. And that's kind of the reason I'm sad that they're bringing in these thrill rides that are just movie tie-ins and kind of getting rid of that real unique feel that EPCOT had. Like I said, I went when I was 16, which was in, was that 2005 that we went? Right. Yeah, so that was my sophomore year of high school. So that was in April of 2005 that we went, and then I of course went again this year in 2017. And what's changed? Well, Frozen is there. There's like Frozen everywhere. Gosh, what else had changed? The Nemo ride was there. And I guess I know that the Test Track has been through a couple of changes, but I actually didn't get a chance to ride it this past time, so I've only been on it once.
Oh, Test Track has gone through a dramatic change, not since it just became Test Track, which happened, I believe, in 2000. I think it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say late. I'm gonna say that they had Test Track ready for the Millennium Celebration in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the old Walt Disney World Explorer game, when you click on the part with Test Track in it, it says, watch a computer-generated preview of Test Track. And that game came out in 98. So I'm going to say that was 2000, but it has gone through some changes, namely in the queue. The queue went from being awesome. You just kind of see how cars are made, sort of, or more so how cars are tested in different parts of it with, like, impact tests with a bunch of crash test dummies, because that used to be, like, the mascot of Test Track.
Mm-hmm.
And now you go through the queue, and you get to kind of sort of design your own car, which for me is really unnecessary, because I think it makes the queue take longer to do that. The time, because people are going to want to, futz around and figure out the controls, and then they're going to be like, oh, I want a blue car, I want a green car, I want to give it big wheels, no little wheels, and let's go fast, but it has to be huge.
Right. Did they do a Cars tie-in with it? Because I seem to remember that at some point there was a Cars tie-in with Test Track.
I think they wanted to do something like that, but then they figured they could make Cars Land over in California Adventure.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I could show you a link to some ride footage my family got when they went out there a couple years ago. They went to Cars Land and recorded the Radiator Springs Racers ride, I think it's called.
Okay.
And it is laid out pretty much just like Test Track.
Okay, well that's cool. It's like I vaguely remember that being something that I'd heard about, but it's been a long time, and in between hearing that and now, and since I didn't get to go on Test Track, I wasn't able to confirm it. But as far as movie tie-ins, they have started to tie in certain movies in Epcot, like I said, like Frozen, like Nemo, which I think Nemo is very well done.
I think Nemo was for as far as like a full-fledged attraction. I think Nemo was the first to have the full tie-in with a whole thing with the existing franchise, and I think part of that was because they wanted to keep the pavilion for the seas, but they lost the sponsor. And that kind of thing is a very specific kind of entity to get a sponsor for. So I can understand them not wanting it to sit too long without something. And the original ride that was there would be lost on today's demographics. It was very Jules Verne. 20,000 Leagues-esque, and older people can appreciate it. We can appreciate it because there's a lot of Jules Verne in our media growing up. But Jules Verne references are going to be lost on not just our kids, but even kids now, like teenagers. They're not going to be quite as easily to get those references as we were back in the 90s and early 2000s. So I think
side note, if you haven't read that, you should read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Anybody listening, if you haven't read it, it's fantastic. I read it as an 8th grader and loved it.
And if you don't read, you can either listen to it in audiobook form. I think it's on Amazon. Or you can watch the Disney movie. Disney did make a lot of... I think Disney made a few movies based on Jules Verne.
Or you can watch the Wishbone version. Although I'm pretty sure that's Journey to the Center of the Earth, not 20,000 Leagues. But Wishbone.
Yeah, Wishbone. Totally not Disney related, but Wishbone should have his own amusement park.
Oh, I know, right? Did you know that Wishbone was filmed in Allen, Texas?
Oh my god.
Supposedly as was Barney, but I'm not sure if that one's actually true.
Oh god. Okay, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go into Barney Land.
Yeah, we're going to go back to Epcot.
Back in Epcot. I think it's actually not very good thinking in terms of... It's a very short-sighted decision to... tie in movies with Epcot pavilions, because the movies may be cool now, but are they timeless? Like, people can argue that Frozen will forever be timeless, but I'm one of the people who's going to say Frozen might not be. Like, right now, everyone loves it because it is a classic Disney princess movie, but it also subverts it, and people are like, oh, the subversion. But, in a few years, people are going to get kind of tired of Disney going meta on themselves.
I think the seas will stand the test of time partially because I think Finding Nemo is so different that it will be a classic. I mean, it's the ocean and it's beautiful.
Pixar essentially is the new sponsor for that pavilion. I assumed, because when I saw it that it changed to Nemo, that's why it became Nemo, was because this kind of happened at the time before Disney and Pixar fully merged with each other. Pixar was still a separate entity. So I thought, okay, Pixar came in and decided to sponsor it. So cool. Of course they'd want to put their characters in it. But now that Disney and Pixar are pretty much the same thing, not technically, but...
they're under the umbrella.
John Lasseter, who helmed Pixar, now helms Disney Animation. They're the same thing, and oh my god, I hope that there's a way to remove my bird, but if not, well, that calling you in the background, that's my bird. Say hi.
Oh, I can't even hear it, honestly.
I heard a little bit through my mic. I hear a little bit of her chatter, and I'm like, oh great, bird.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful tie-in, because I think that part of Epcot for the most part looks to the future. And if I remember correctly, when the seas first opened, they had an interactive experience with Crush, the sea turtle, where you could like talk to him, which is for the time when it first started was amazing. It was new technology being featured. I don't think it is still there. We totally missed it,
and it's been redone.
Okay.
For Finding Dory. So now you have pop-in characters like Hank and Destiny. And I think one of the options, my family didn't see it when they went, but apparently Bailey is also an option that pops in. There is now different triggers that they can have different characters pop in, so it's not the same script every time, which was a common complaint of the previous Crush interactions, was you would get designated time where there was kind of a lot of improv with kids and people talking to Crush, but then there was that set time where the script came into play and that was it. So now even the scripted spots, there are different triggers for it. So it's not the same experience every time, because, that person, behind the machine can just hit a different trigger to trigger a different part of the script.
Yeah. And it's a little bit virtual reality, which I feel like really fits the theme of Epcot. I know that the Seas ride, while it may not necessarily be all about technology, it is about the ocean, introducing kids to the environment of the ocean through Nemo. At the end, there's a big aquarium with a lot of stuff where you can learn. And I think that it's right next door to Soaring and the
Living with the Land.
Yes, thank you. I was like, I can't remember, something with the land. Right next door. So it kind of fits in with that, learning about the environment, learning about the animals, and learning about conservation, which I think all of that fits really well together in that area. So I think that the way they tied Nemo in is really good, because it's a foot in the door for the kids to learn about this stuff. They understand Nemo, so they go, and then they learn about all this other stuff on the way. So I kind of feel like Guardians is out of place. It's just a roller coaster. What is it going to teach? What's the tie-in with the future besides generic space?
They wanted to have it replace what was a nap, and they've had movie tie-ins that became naps. If you go into the Land Pavilion, there's a movie. I believe it's on the top floor as you're walking in. There's a theater on the right as you walk in, and it has Simba and Timon and Pumbaa. And it teaches you about the land and recycling, but people who go and see it, like maybe kids will like it, but it's a 15-20 minute nap. And the complaint about the Energy ride is it became a 45-minute nap.
Right. And so obviously I can see why somebody would go, hey, we need to spice this up. But I feel like stripping it completely wasn't the best thing, because for one, it's a classic. Like I know that sometimes they take out the classic rides to make room for new rides that are bigger and better and whatever. But I feel like there's some things that are just, some Disney rides are just sacred. You wouldn't get rid of Pirates of the Caribbean. So why get rid of this one? It was one of the mainstays of Epcot.
Oh, yeah. It was also on the original rides. It's why they can never get rid of Spaceship Earth. They can update it. Spaceship Earth's been updated numerous times. Most recently, the ride vehicles were updated. But the inside part, especially you get towards the ending, that's been updated. I believe it's been updated once every 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so if you're going to update that, why not update Universe of Energy with something that's a little more relevant to today's kids?
And, everyone loves Guardians of the Galaxy, but how does that relate to energy? Like, I could see converting a ride like they did in Disney's California Adventure. They turned their Tower of Terror into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Outbreak, I believe it's called. Or Mission Breakout. I forget. Whatever it's called, feel free to correct us in comments. I have not been on that ride yet, but I've seen footage of it. It looks great, and they rethemed it very well. Like, you can still see where it was Tower of Terror if you're familiar with the ride, but if you're not, you can totally see it's a whole new thing. But this is going to be a whole new ride system, I do believe, based on what they've announced, and if you looked at with them the county stuff for them to do new building, there's going to be an additional building built behind the original pavilion building. That's probably going to house the actual ride itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people were thinking at first before they got the confirmation of being a coaster, that was going to be something else, because in France they're making a whole building behind the pavilion to have the Ratatouille ride, which is going to be completely similar or even the same as the one that's in Disneyland Paris, except in America it's going to be in English. But it's a trackless attraction where you're in a little car and it goes through the little setting. But people were thinking, oh, it's going to be like that. It's going to be a trackless experience, which would still be an update to Universe of Energy just for it to be trackless instead of those roving theaters. But
well, and we know Disney can do trackless rides because you mentioned Tower of Terror. I've always been fascinated by the fact that those carts just kind of knew where to go. I've only gone on it once. I'm not a fan of free fall rides. I kind of hate them. Absolutely hate them. But I had to go once because it's a Disney classic. But I was fascinated by the actual carts that you rode in and how they just kind of maneuvered through this without a track. They just kind of rolled because I guess it's on some kind of laser system or something, so it just follows that. But, I mean, you could put something like that in the Universe of Energy easy.
People hated the whole, and come to think of it, both rides to use this mechanism are gone now. It's the same ride mechanism that was in Great Movie Ride.
Oh, I know. I never got to go on that. The line was so long. We were there in March, and so we missed out on that. And we were trying to get to meet Moana, which also didn't happen. But that's a story for another day.
Oh, but here's where it really doesn't tie, because with EPCOT, at least in a future world, is all of these pavilions had sponsors initially. And you can't really argue that anymore. I believe some of them still have their sponsors. I know the land is still Nestle. Mm-hmm. Imagination's still Kodak. GM managed to keep Test Track.
Yep.
They kept it from when it was World of Motion, and people thought they were going to lose it because they went bankrupt, but they're okay. They got it. They're still there. Spaceship Earth has belonged to several different companies. It's Siemens now, but before it was AT&T. I distinctly remember the AT&T days because you get off the ride and there'd be little play area, like when you get out, and there'd be an interactive Alice in Wonderland thing. Mm-hmm. But it was like a live action Alice in Wonderland thing, and it was so cool. Yeah, you go in these little booths and you could talk to Alice, and it was really cool. And I'm like, AT&T, you're dope, but that's gone now. Siemens didn't have Alice.
I remember seeing Siemens when we were there.
Siemens, that's a good name.
Great name. Great name.
Great.
A+ guys.
But Energy has been sponsorless for a while now. I think Energy's been lost their sponsor, I think not long after they put Ellen in the ride.
You know what? Who was their sponsor? I can't remember.
ExxonMobil.
ExxonMobil. I want to say it's been longer than that. Let's go to Google.
To Wikipedia.
To Wikipedia and see exactly when it stopped sponsoring Universe of Energy.
Because I do have memories still of exiting Universe of Energy and seeing all of these signs about ExxonMobil and the ExxonMobil Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, be like, donate to the Tigers. And I'm like, well, this has nothing to do with energy, but I like Tigers.
2004. They ended their sponsorship in 2004.
Okay, so it was after Ellen got put in the ride. Because I believe she got put in the ride in 90-something.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going on the ride as a little kid before Ellen was on it, and then ever since it's been Ellen and Bill Nye the Science Guy, which, they could still keep that formula and just change it out and make the ride shorter, because I think there's a bunch of sections of the ride that were just screens.
Mm-hmm.
You can always cut the length of movies.
Yeah.
So the ride doesn't have to be 45 minutes. I know the parts, you're roving through the parts with the dinosaurs, the animatronics, which definitely wasn't 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just, cut the amount of time you're staring at a screen and make it a 20-minute attraction instead of a 45-minute one. But
yeah,
keep the same ride mechanism, because, you know what, you need at least a few places where it's okay to take a nap. Where it's a safe place, it's a safe space for a nap.
Yeah, your kid's entertained and you can sleep.
Or the other way around.
Right. You're entertained and the kid can sleep.
Because people often forget that a lot of families go to Disney, and it's not very cost effective for you bring in your little one. I'm going to say, ages from, 3 to 8, still going to get kind of tired halfway through the day. It's not very cost effective to have to go to your car or go all the way back to your room just to take a nap.
Mm-hmm. We did that our first day. Our first day was at the Magic Kingdom, and we left probably around, I want to say like 1 o'clock. No, it wasn't 1. It was later than that. Maybe around 4. Went back to our hotel. We were staying at the Coronado Springs, which is, it's like a 10-15 minute ride from the Coronado Springs. So it's, round trip is 30 minutes. And then you go back and you take a nap. And so I don't think we made it back until 6:30 or so.
It's not cost effective to do that. And so I think Disney needs to invest in just more, it's okay to have low-key attractions.
Mm-hmm.
And ones that aren't super engaging, because if people take a nap on it, it's not always an offense.
Right. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I need a few minutes.
It's like, hey, people need to crash. Plus, you always need some slow stuff, because Disney imagined his theme park as being a place for literally the whole family. Like, not just kids and their parents, but kids, their parents, and grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how much can the elderly do if every attraction is now getting all extreme?
Right. And well, not only that, it's a place to kind of slow down for a bit. Like, if your child is just on sensory overload and you just need something to calm them down, something like that is great.
And people may argue with that, Bill Nye, he's cool again, but not cool to the kids. He's cool to people we still think
our
he's
age.
Cool.
Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill Nye was my entrance into science, so yeah, I understand.
Bill Nye is still cool to us, and he's cool because, he did that whole video with Bernie Sanders, which again, kids go right over the head of kids. But
oh, and that recent video of the girls in the elevator who were like dancing on the mirrors, and then he came in and they basically reacted like he was Bono or something.
It was so great.
It was amazing. I was like, I wish everybody reacted to science that way.
But here's the thing. There is a scientist now that kids know about and respect. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I highly doubt that Disney would go to Neil deGrasse Tyson and be like, hey, can we put you in Universe of Energy to update it? And he'd say, no.
No. Honestly, I love Ellen to death, but I wish they'd take Ellen out, put Neil in, and just have Bill Nye and Neil, and be amazing. Science bros. The true science bros.
And they just talk about energy. I get, though, you need that kind of comic foil.
Mm-hmm.
So, in our chat, I discussed, possible comedian replacements, because, yeah, kids know who Ellen is, but she's a bit dated. Like, the 90s was perfect because she had her TV show. Mm-hmm. She was a bit controversial in the 90s, but even then, she got through it. She got through it. But now, like, most kids don't know her comedy anymore. Kids now know her as that lady that hosts a daytime talk show.
Yep.
Talk show.
Or they know her as Dory, which is the other ride.
Exactly. But she's still funny. I still love Ellen, but kids just now, like, aren't going to have that association with her that, we did.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's plenty of hip young comedians that could just step into it. And, Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I love Kate McKinnon. And she's the new Miss Frizzle, so she would be a great tie-in.
She'd be great because kids know who she is. And, man, there's some people, oh, crap. His name eludes me now.
Which one?
Oh, that kid who wanted that should have been Spider-Man.
Should have been Spider-Man. Oh, Donald Glover.
Yes.
I love how that was my clue. Should have been Spider-Man. Donald Glover. Gotcha. Miles Morales for the win, everybody. Just, yeah.
Specifically, no. We're not saying he should be Peter Parker. We're saying that Miles Morales should have his own movie.
Yes. Come on, Disney. Make it happen.
Hurry up.
Chop, chop. Let's go.
Just, Miles Morales, same year as Black Panther. Just have that be the year.
Right? Nah, spread them out. Make it like every year. Just a new one every year. Come on, Sony. Give us X-Men so we can get our Storm movie.
Fox,
sorry. Sony has Spider-Man. Fox has X-Men.
But if Fox relinquishes the rights to the X-Men, it means they also relinquish the rights to Deadpool.
That's so true.
Deadpool becomes a Disney character.
Oh, God. I love how subversive this would be.
But that's the problem, though, because Guardians is a great film, and it's great, but here's the thing, it's not timeless.
Nope.
Guardians will never be timeless, even just in the context of Marvel, the way the Avengers are, or the way the X-Men are. They have the same problem that the Fantastic Four do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people enjoy the Fantastic Four when they pop up, but then people get sick of them after a while.
Yeah, it's not just that. They're not one of the main, Marvel mainstays. I mean, and I don't say that meaning, they haven't been around forever. I just mean, when people who aren't in comic book culture think about Marvel, the first things they think about are Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, the ones that they have, or the X-Men. Things that have been shoved in their face through cartoons and movies and just, how many Spider-Man reboots have we had at this point?
Those are 3.
Right. Those are going to be timeless. Those are going to be things that people always remember, like Superman and Batman, even though they're not Disney. But those are the superheroes that even people who aren't super into comic culture, know about and recognize. That the Guardians, I didn't know about the Guardians of the Galaxy until the movie came out.
I get why they're very gung-ho about pulling Guardians into the Florida property, because they're one of the few Marvel things that they can put in their park, because Universal doesn't have the rights to them. Universal, right, for their theme park in Florida, they have the rights to Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man,
the Hulk,
Thor, all of those guys, all the big names, but they never thought to get the rights to the very little characters like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is part of why the movie happened in the first place, because it was one of those Marvel properties that no one else ever got the rights to.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think Guardians would have been a better fit for Tomorrowland, where it's a little bit more about imagination and not so much about the future of technology, where it's where we're headed. This it's like the difference between fiction and nonfiction. Fiction is I would like to have telekinetic power someday, but it's probably not going to happen. Whereas, robots and where the future of robotics is going would be EPCOT.
Or if they want a Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, go into studios, take out Rock and Roller Coaster, put Guardians in.
You can't get rid of Aerosmith, though. That's a classic. I love the Rock and Roller Coaster.
Hey, Star-Lord would listen to Aerosmith.
That is true. Maybe they could just pull the band in and have them recorded. I mean, that video is at least 10 to 15 years old, because it's the same video I saw when I went in 2005. Maybe they could
never change. It never changed.
We update it and have Star-Lord crash the party. Then it's Aerosmith and Guardians.
And it's oh, hey guys, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your recording session. We're trying to get away. Can we borrow one of these limos? Okay, bye.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. There are many, many ways that they could, and plus, now that I think about it, Guardians would be a great fit in Hollywood studios, just because it's right next to Star Wars. You put all your space franchises together.
And they can slowly integrate more Marvel into it as, they get the rights.
Mm-hmm. Because Hollywood Studios really does kind of have that pop culture feel to it. It's got Indiana Jones. It's got Star Wars. It's got...
It's going to be full of Pixar with Toy Story Land.
Right. It just has more of that pop culture feel to it. And I feel like any Marvel property would be much better suited there than it would be in EPCOT at all. I feel like it's completely out of place in EPCOT.
Epcot's primary purpose as a park is it's an edutainment park. It's supposed to entertain you, but also educate you. What is Guardians of the Galaxy in roller coaster form going to teach us about energy?
I mean, unless we're going to learn about photosynthesis through Groot and some really awesome, hilarious commentary from Rocket, probably not much.
I would love for that to be the case. I would love for that to exactly be what happens.
That would be amazing. I would ride that ride so fast. I would wait in a 2-hour line to ride that.
Ride the Groot.
Yeah, the cart could be Groot.
I'm just imagining it just hear like a loud rumble. I am Groot.
Maybe each cart has like a button where like there's a speaker, and if you press it, it says I am Groot.
Oh man, can you just imagine Vin Diesel having to come in to record lines for a ride?
Oh, I'm sure he'd love it. I'm sure he would be absolutely thrilled to do it.
Why can't they just take the current, existing ride as it is and just replace it with the Guardians teaching us about energy?
Honestly, that would be a great idea if they really, really wanted to tie in Guardians. Just update the ride because, I mean, when was the last time this ride was updated? The 90s? A lot has changed since then. I was like, what? I guess you said what was in 96 that it was last updated?
I think it was like 96, 97.
Okay, in 96, I was 7 years old. I am now 28, and so that's 21 years. 21 years that technology has the landscape has completely changed.
Can you just imagine the part where, like, the dinosaurs in the jungle and they just drop in Groot? That's what he's doing. Just doing dinosaur things. And he's just like, I am Groot?
Groot's in the background riding a T-Rex.
No,
I take that back. It's Rocket.
Rocket's riding the T-Rex. Alright, it's like, Star-Lord, if you can get that time machine back now.
So yeah, I think there's a lot that they could do that wouldn't involve completely just tearing up a classic ride and making it a movie time. Because they did the same thing with Maelstrom. Like, it's Frozen now. Here you go. Magical ride through Frozen, sing along.
But those are totally the same boats repainted.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same ride track.
Right. It's like, no, it's not. It's Magical Frozen, sing along because you didn't already hear all of these songs 15 billion times on the drive here.
I didn't ride the ride because I missed Epcot Day, but I've seen, recordings people took on the ride. I find that very interesting, though, how they did it. I think the animatronics were terrifying. Mm-hmm. That backlit projection animatronic, I know it's like cost saving and you can make it more expressive, but when those things malfunction, they look really creepy. Yeah.
And to be honest, to talk about, technological advances in animatronics, I saw the video of the Na'vi. I want to say it was I don't know if it was like a storyteller or something, but in the Avatar ride.
Oh yeah, that's Na'vi River Journey. The Na'vi, that's the shaman.
The animatronic movement was beautiful. It was so smooth. I was like, that is awesome.
And I wish they would keep going that route with the animatronics because it looks great. It's gonna remain good, and people first started noticing like they got good at animatronics when they brought in the movies from Pirates into the Pirates ride. Mm-hmm. And you can tell which animatronics are new and which aren't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was actually done in between my first visit and my second visit. So my first visit, I went on the Pirates ride before they added Jack Sparrow, and then after. It was so cool to see the change because I'd been dying to see it for years. I was totally obsessed with those movies in high school.
I believe there's someone in California where they said like the Jack animatronics look so real that sometimes Johnny Depp will go into the ride and pretend to be an animatronic.
Oh my gosh. I would pay sweet, sweet money just to see people's faces when they realize that wasn't an animatronic.
Or like all of a sudden he thinks animatronically and he like jumps across a different boat.
Right. Or just does something that an animatronic couldn't possibly do. Like stand up and walk.
And wave the arms around.
Mm-hmm. Like, well, because they do some arm movements with the animatronics, but if he were to stand up and walk, like that would just shock everyone because the animatronics are usually stationary.
Or
they're on a track.
Animatronics are such a mainstay of Disney parks because we have them all over Magic Kingdom, but Horizons, which is what Mission Space used to be, was nothing but animatronics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a podcast for another day, too.
Yeah, animatronics.
Horizons was amazing, and so many people love that ride, and now it's a simulator.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I missed out on. I never did. It's been Mission Space both times I've been there.
And here's the thing: there's so many great animatronics in Energy. Like I know the dinosaur ride in Animal Kingdom has a bunch of dinosaurs, but that's like dinosaurs from the crappy movie that no one likes.
I remember going to see that movie. So I went to see that movie, and my grandmother and my older cousin went to see. Oh gosh, what was it? I don't remember the movie. It was, I don't even remember. Like, I remember watching it, I just don't remember which movie it was. I want to say it was like, oh no, I do remember. It was Big Mama's House. So I was in one theater watching Dinosaurs, which is a kid's movie. It's obviously shorter. So then I went to find my grandmother and my older cousin watching Big Mama's House, and I enjoyed that way more.
And the thing about Dinosaur is that the opening, I'm like, you ripped this off Land Before Time.
Right? Which is a classic. You cannot replicate that.
It's like you see a T-Rex fighting a Stegosaurus. You can easily accuse people of that copying Fantasia. They even incorporate that into Universe of Energy. You see a T-Rex fighting a Stegosaurus. That's clearly a homage to Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, if you put in a movie segment where you follow just a dinosaur egg being dropped out of its nest and it goes on this great journey and then plops down and cracks open, that's Land for Time.
Mm-hmm.
That was Littlefoot. You don't be copying Littlefoot.
Right. Oh, man. Love Land Before Time. That was... Oh, my heart breaks every time I watch that movie, but it's so good.
So people have argued, they're like, well, there's dinosaurs in Animal Kingdom, so we don't need them in Epcot. And I'm like, the point of Universe Energy isn't that there's dinosaurs, it's that there's dinosaurs, and they're telling you something about energy.
Right. They're telling you where we got fossil fuels from.
Which, I understand we want to distance ourselves from that now that we're getting less and less attached to fossil fuels.
But it's still part of the history.
Or we should be less attached to fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a good sponsor idea for just, Universe of Energy, Test Track if GM somehow loses money, and Mission Space. Hey, Elon Musk. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
That would be another great person to tie into the Universe of Energy because he's the future of energy.
He's trying to incorporate, solar energy especially, but nuclear-based energy,
mm-hmm.
hydro, wind power. Like, he is completely just like, no more fossil fuels, man. I'm not ExxonMobil.
Like, that would be another great tie-in. We could get Neil deGrasse Tyson, we get Donald Glover, we get Elon Musk, and we put them all in as part of this ride. They're all people, like, Elon Musk is going to be what the kids are now to what Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were to us.
Oh, man. Can you just imagine, though, that Neil deGrasse Tyson voice, and he's just, like, very Doctor Who style, just taking us on a journey through the energy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that would be fantastic.
And Donald Glover is just wisecracking the entire time. And plus, having some characters on a Disney attraction being black.
Right, which would be fantastic.
Talking about STEM science.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of empowerment towards a community that people don't usually associate with STEM science.
Right. Hey, Disney, here's another reason to get Miles Morales in a movie. Because then it would be Spider-Man. It wouldn't just be Donald Glover. It'd be Spider-Man.
And they could easily cut the movie segments down, be shorter, but would still get all the information out there because we don't need to spend forever going through the dinosaurs and hearing about the Ice Age. Or no, we can just go from dinosaur to now and what's changed and what's great about how Elon Musk does his energy.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're at it, when you get off this ride, go head on over to Test Track, which is now sponsored by Tesla, and then get on Mission Space so you can find out how you can go on a trip with SpaceX.
Right? That would be fantastic. I think that Disney has taken... I think they took a wrong turn with Guardians.
No shade to GM, though. Like, GM, they have the Chevy Volt, so no shade to GM. I'm just saying, if they ever, need to redirect their finances and they can't hold on to Test Track anymore...
Yeah, let's give it to Tesla. Give them a little bit. Give them so much exposure that the state of Texas can no longer deny them a place to sell their cars.
There is a Tesla showroom near my house now.
Is that the one that's over by? I saw it. I saw it when we were flying to Disney, across from left field, across from the airport.
There's now one in South Lake.
Oh, okay, there is one in Fort Worth as well that I saw. It was off University, but it's just like a little store. But they had two of the cars parked outside that you could look at, which I thought was really cool.
So, I'm like, and Universal Energy, like, I get it. They lost their sponsor in 2004, and the ride's kind of been dying since. It's a 45-minute nap, but there's so many quick fixes, like just, change out the celebrities, change out, cut the ride time by cutting the movie shorter. You can change out the ride vehicles, make them smaller, make them more compact, so they're less, like you can lay down in them, but
it's been 20 years. 20 years that it has been the same. It needs to be updated. It didn't need to be scrapped. It was fantastic. It is such a great way to introduce children to the history of energy in the world. And it's at Disney. I mean, what's cooler than that? Like, let's go to, I know most people don't sit there and think, Disney, it's educational. Let's go, you should check out all those educational films from like the 40s. But there's a lot that EPCOT has done to provide an educational experience for the kids, but also kind of masking it behind the fact that you're at Disney World. And I think that's fantastic. Introducing kids to science is, it's so important. It's especially introducing it to girls and marginalized groups. Like, it's, get them while they're young. Like, get them interested while they're young. I would have been a meteorologist had it not been for the fact that I actually have dyscalculia and could not pass any of the math classes. I was actually diagnosed after I graduated from college. So unfortunate, but it did kind of derail my plans of being a meteorologist.
And I just freaking love science.
Mm-hmm.
So many people love science, and kids love things that are science. And the fact that, especially in Future World, they're pulling back from science, like Innoventions is now closed.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that it was gone. They had like some weird World of Color thing there now, which it's
a bit. You could tell more was there. World of Color was like the last Innovention left.
Mm-hmm. It was so weird. Like, I walked in because I was like, "Ooh, this sounds so cool," and it was boring. Like, I get it was probably for very young kids, but I think it was Sherwin-Williams is the sponsor for it, the paint company, and it was just like, it was boring. It didn't teach anything. It's just like, look at these pretty colors. Aren't they cool?
I remember Innoventions had the House of the Future, which had a lot of future technology, which back then was the future. Like, you had to be like obscenely wealthy to even think about having this in your home.
Right.
But I remember going in, part of it was an interactive home where you can say, like, dim the lights, turn this on the TV, remind me to pick this up at the grocery store. And, in 2017, we have that. We have
Siri and Alexa and
Google.
There's a third one, right?
There's Google. Oh, and at the time, it was Microsoft that did it. And Microsoft did it I think Microsoft was one of the first products to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take off the way that the Apple products did in Alexa and Google.
Oh, Cortana, that's who it is. Because it was based on Cortana from the Halo series.
Yep. So, but I remember, like, the tour guide taking you through the House of the Future, and there was nothing in her hand, I think, except a little, like, a trigger just to open doors.
Mm-hmm.
And, she would dim the lights and everything using her voice.
Which is super cool.
And, like, there was a fridge that, you could put your grocery list on, and it would save to, a cloud. And, it said, in some neighborhoods, you can get this stuff delivered to you. You don't even have to go to the store. Yeah.
Or, there's some refrigerators now where you connect to it with an app, and you can see inside your refrigerator and be like, oh, I need this and this while you're at the store. And the future is now.
And this was Innovention, so this was 10 years ago I was seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes to show how technology actually happens. It's like the things we're seeing on the market now that we can just go and see in a store. These were concepts that were already floating around and theoretically working 10 years ago. They just were not streamlined for mainstream distribution. And that's why I loved Innoventions, because it showed possible products that you could one day try out in your home. But here at Disney, we're giving you like this exclusive first look at this.
Right. It's like, check out what's coming down the pipeline.
It's like, we have the future right now.
Mm-hmm. And so I've always loved Epcot. It's my favorite. The showcase of countries or showcase of the world, whatever it's called, I keep forgetting, is amazing. It's literally my favorite part of going to Disney. I love to go walk through all the countries.
And it's also timeless. Like, so far, every country in World Showcase we haven't really had much of a conflict with as Americans.
Well, not recently. I think we've had a pretty big conflict with Japan.
In Germany, but I'm saying, like, since Epcot was made.
Right.
Like, I think there's a reason we don't have a Russia pavilion.
Yeah. We may have to get rid of that Mexico pavilion soon. You never know. they may hate us after a bit much longer.
Or no, they'll put a wall around it.
That's horrible.
But you can go through the wall. You just have to, like, figure out a way through it.
Right. It'd be like one of those escape houses.
Maybe a rope.
Just a rope. Here, you can visit this if you can climb the rope. So.
Oh, that's bad. Even worse, though, if they, like, moved it next to America and then put the wall around.
Oh, gosh. Speaking about the America section, it is so boring. Like, it's like, hey, here's a restaurant, and there's, like, a little amphitheater here, which I don't even know. I've never actually seen anything in the little amphitheater, and there's, like, I guess some, like, little walk-through, like, educational thing, but that's it. I was like, I guess because we're in America.
You've never seen the America show?
Mm-mm.
There's a show.
I always go through at the wrong times.
There's a show. It's not bad. It's very, whitewashed, or, in this case, Disney-washed. But it's very, America. And I will say, though, I forget what it's called, but I think it's a choir group that will get into that main building under the dome part and sing. And they sing there on purpose because of how the sound bounces off the dome.
I think I know who that is. Is it during the holidays? Because I think I've had some friends that have done that.
It's during the holidays, but they have a group that's there year-round that's just cast that does it. But I think they're called, like, Sons of Liberty or something.
That would make sense.
And that's pretty cool, too. And they just sing, like, you know, famous America songs. But this is why Epcot is an important part that you need to keep in mind the history and the intent of it. That it's supposed to be educational to some degree and entertaining. And it's got to be timeless. Yeah. Guardians, to me, like, right now, we're hyped on it because the first movie did well. We just had the second movie. But 5 years from now, are we going to care as much about Groot and Star-Lord and Rocket as we do about Nemo?
Right. So I think Nemo will be a classic. I think Guardians will be a cult classic. I think that it will remain popular among the crowd that loves comic books. And I think it will eventually fade away from the mainstream.
As I can easily see 5 years from now, people being like, well, this is a great coaster, but Guardians?
Yeah.
And also just there being a fast coaster. I understand it's likely going to be inside a building, because, I'm sorry, you don't want to, like, walk into Epcot and the first thing you hear are the screams of a coaster. That's kind of problematic. But yep. If it's like Rock and Roller Coaster or Space Mountain even, and contained in a building, you're not going to have that, really.
Yeah. And Epcot's just such a wonderful park, and I hate seeing it become more of a pop culture hub than a hub for learning. Like I said, it's my favorite, and I want it to remain the mainstay it has been for learning, for education, and for opening people's minds to things other than what they're used to.
And I will say this, Walt was a complete and total capitalist. He was all about, venture capitalism and the power of business. So I think the best way to have Epcot is tie in the movie franchises with the countries, because cultures generally remain timeless. Like, we got Pixar bringing out Coco, which is going to be a great introduction to aspects of Mexican culture that most of the world, especially Americans, are probably never aware of. And, Mulan's a great tie-in for China, for people who just have no idea about Chinese history or culture at all. I won't say Mulan's perfect, because we know it's not, but it's a great introduction, just like how Beauty and the Beast and Ratatouille are great introductions into France. And
Mulan was actually my introduction to Chinese history. I'm actually looking at my bookshelf right now. I have so many history books on Chinese history, because it is amazing to read about what all they accomplished while we were still, digging in the ground.
got Mary Poppins and Alice in Wonderland for, England. I'm like, the only places I can see them having a hard time fitting a movie in is, like, Canada.
Mm-hmm. Which...
we can argue maybe Brother Bear.
Brother Bear, but technically isn't that Alaska?
So I think technically it's Alaska. But, they can work something, and it'll give them an excuse to make a new movie.
Right. Well, and to be fair, I mean, with the Canada Pavilion, it would actually be really nice to see some of the native cultures of Canada represented.
And, Japan, there's... actually, though, I believe Disney's partnered with Studio Ghibli. Why not have a Ghibli attraction in Japan?
Yeah, they sell so much Ghibli stuff in the store. Like, so the first time I went, they had kind of... the shape of the shop was like a big, long L. Well, now they have like a knob, like a big old square knob that sticks off of that. That's literally just, hey, we know otaku exists, and this is your area.
So the countries make complete sense, to have a ride that ties in with a movie or a show that ties in with a movie, because cultures generally are timeless, and these films that kind of tie into cultures stay pretty timeless. Like, people are always going to enjoy Snow White, they're always going to enjoy Alice in Wonderland, and they're going to enjoy, Frozen even.
Right.
But I think that Future World should be kept, let companies sponsor them.
Right.
Like Nestle has Living with the Land. GM has Test Track. Siemens has Spaceship Earth for now. HP, Hewlett Packard has Mission Space. It was NASA, now it's HP. ExxonMobil had Universe of Energy. And I forget the company that had the Living Seas. I forget the company. But I think, Kodak, Imagination. I think they need to keep doing that. And, people may see it as selling out, but that's what it was from the get-go, was, these companies would also get the chance to showcase what they can do. And
showcase their products first.
And, show how they tie into the future. And, I would love it, when Siemens because eventually Siemens they're gonna run out of their contract with Spaceship Earth. If Apple could come in.
Apple would be a fantastic tie-in. Or to go ahead and see, like, SpaceX take over Spaceship Earth, or so. SpaceX would be fantastic.
SpaceX would be great for mission space. Elon Musk just, over there, that's his corner.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of movers and shakers coming up in technology right now. Let's see them represented.
Spaceship Earth is about communication. Who's currently, like, the leading company in communication? Apple.
Apple and Samsung.
Arguably. And Apple, they have kind of an in with, or they used to, because Pixar used to be partially held by Steve Jobs.
So it would be really nice to see that represented there.
And so it's just the idea to just throw it to Marvel, Universe Energy. I hope you, as the audience, can understand why we're kind of skeptical, because it doesn't fit with the theme of EPCOT. And if they continue to follow in the footsteps of how they're handling this attraction with other attractions, they could lose the whole theme altogether. Right.
And so we just want Epcot to remain what it has been, a bastion of science and technology, communication, learning, and all things future.
And then in the back of it, it's, look at all these cultures that aren't American.
Look at how much there is to learn in the world that isn't just, it's not just, what's in your hometown or your home city or your home state. It's, look at all these places around the world where there are new people and new things to try, new ideas to learn, new cultures to experience. Like, we're all different, and that's beautiful. Like, it's...
Who'd have thought that, now in, like, 2017, Norway would be an ideal vacation destination, to the point now where, like, all the tourism parts of Norway are having issues now holding all the tourists they're getting. They're over capacity. All the hotels are always full, and they're like, thank you, Frozen, but oh my god.
Yeah, my number one, like, vacation, like, my dream vacation is to Beijing. Like, I would love to visit China, because I've read so much about it. Like I said, Mulan was my in, and I visited the China Pavilion in Epcot, and I'd love to go. I would love to go, and actually, I've read so much about it, and now I want to see it.
I want to go on a nice vacation where I can go back in time to dinosaurs and learn how energy was made.
Somebody's called Magic School Bus. They have an episode about dinosaurs.
Oh, Magic School Bus. Like, okay, Scholastic owns Magic School Bus, right? That's Scholastic?
Yeah, but who owns Scholastic?
That's a good question.
Hey, Disney, that doesn't happen to be under your umbrella, does it?
As I'm saying, because Netflix has the TV show now, but I'm like, Disney, can you buy that? Like, you're buying everything else.
Right. The only problem is they would pull it from Netflix, because, yeah, their streaming thing is a topic for another day, but I'm sad to see it go.
What's next? The exclusive Disney phone?
Right, here. Well, you know they already have an exclusive Sailor Moon phone in China.
But, Disney phones, Disney tablets, Disney computers. Can you imagine a laptop with mouse ears on it?
I would not entirely be opposed to the idea if I wasn't afraid that the ears would break off and it wouldn't, make it super hard to carry around.
It'd be kind of cool if they're, separate windows and you could just kind of, swipe things to kind of be held in those little windows.
That'd be cool.
I'm like, this is why we need EPCOT so we can test this stuff and determine if it's good or not. And it's just, I think they're seeing the success of tying in franchises into the Studios Park, into California Adventure, obviously in California, and in Magic Kingdom, and Epcot's numbers have been low. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to do everything they can to get those numbers up. And I know Pandora did help Animal Kingdom, but I do think it didn't do as well as they would have liked it to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, even going right now, getting on any of the stuff in Pandora without a fast pass or anything is just impossible unless you want to wait hours.
Yeah, and to, I guess, supplement that point, you have to fast pass those rides weeks in advance. That's what we found out. We arrived at Disney and started trying to fast pass stuff for each day, and half of it was already taken. Closed for the entire week.
Right now even, I think still there's some days where if you did not fast pass Frozen in advance, you're just not going to get on that ride.
Yeah, no. When that ride opened, the lines were 4 hours long.
It's going to be that way when the Guardians ride opens, especially as a thrill ride, because the closest thing to a thrill ride in Epcot right now is Mission Space. The orange side and Test Track.
Which is, the Titan's better.
That's going to be just the whole thrill side of Epcot. And I hope it stays that way. Please, don't thrill up the land.
Please.
Soarin's pretty thrilling.
Soaring was pretty amazing.
Soarin's, I consider that an e-ticket attraction, but they're making... It's so funny how they took, an A-ticket attraction, or maybe a B-ticket attraction, which is Energy, into an E-ticket. I'm like, you don't just go from A to E.
Right.
You don't do that. That's a bad idea. That just doesn't bode well.
Right. Well, I think we're running out of time here, so
I think we hit all the points, and we will continue talking about Epcot in future episodes. This is called Reimagining the Magic, so we talk about Disney news, past, present, future, and we talk about ways things could be reimagined, for better or for worse, and just kind of some ideas that you may not have thought before, and Imagineering may not have thought before.
Well, so thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We hope to see you for our next episode, which should be up in... we can do this weekly, or what?
We're going to try to do it weekly. You might get some episodes bi-weekly. It just depends on schedule. But also let us know if you'd be interested in us doing it live through a live streaming platform. Yeah, we would love to try some live streaming, and send us your ideas. If you've got an idea, a topic you want us to cover, send it in. Let us know. We will look into that, do some research, and see what we can do. And we do promise there will be some video in the future, but for now, because we live in 2 different parts of Texas, and we're currently recording at nighttime. It's just, it does not good right now for video, for a video podcast. But this will have some video overlays, so if you're watching this on YouTube or Breach or another video platform, you're obviously seeing some images bouncing around, but it's our voice track. That may change in the future, just be a full video thing. If you want us to do that, we will find a way to make it work. Give us your suggestions. We are brand new, so we're happy to work in a format that our audience would like to hear us on. Absolutely. So ping us and let us know. And thank you for putting up with this ridiculous first episode. Yeah, we will constantly be improving and finding ways to better our product and just
really just delve into the medium and learn.
So we are reimagining the magic, so Imagineers out there, we'll reimagine your job.
Is that going to be our sign-off? Let us reimagine your job. Sorry, I don't know why I added, like, the Markiplier, like, I don't know. I was going to do his sign-off as, like, a nice homage now that I am, like, breaking into some kind of business myself, but never mind.
Hey, Markiplier, you want to be a guest?
Yeah. Hey, he's employed by Disney, right?
PewDiePie's not anymore.
Yeah, nope.
Neither is Jake Paul. Relevant.
That gives us cool points, right? Like, we know pop culture.
we know what the kids are paying attention to.
Right. All right, well then, I guess that is gonna wrap it up for us, so
here, until the next show, our fellow Reimagineers.
Keep thinking of, keep imagining, keep reimagining, keep looking at stuff from different angles.